Hello everyone, and welcome back to today's Love Tarot reading. If this reading has found you, it may not be a coincidence. Trust your intuition and only take what truly resonates with your heart. The energy coming through today carries a very powerful message. There is someone who has been quietly hurting over you. They don't just miss you, they deeply wish they had one more chance to make things right and repair everything that was lost. The first card that appears is the Fool. At first glance, many people see this as the card of new beginnings, and that's absolutely true. But today, Spirit is highlighting a different layer of its meaning. This person has been looking back on the past and realizing just how impulsive, immature, and emotionally unprepared they were. They recognize that they allowed their ego, their fears, or poor decisions to damage a connection that was far more meaningful than they understood at the time. What hurts them the most isn't simply what happened. It's realizing that they were the one who caused it. This is the kind of regret that only arrives after everything has already fallen apart. There are nights when they replay everything in their mind, asking themselves, what if I had made a different choice? Would we still be together today? Because of that, the Fool no longer represents someone carelessly walking toward the unknown. Instead, it represents someone who has finally become mature enough to acknowledge their own mistakes. And that's exactly why they're longing for a second chance, not to return to the past, but to build something entirely new with you. The next card to appear is Wheel of Fortune. The moment this card came out, I could feel the energy beginning to shift. Something significant is changing in this person's life. They're no longer willing to stand still. They're no longer pretending they've moved on. Deep down, they know that if they remain silent, they could lose you forever. The Wheel of Fortune is always about turning points that cannot be avoided. Sometimes the universe places someone face to face with the very lessons they've been trying to escape for a long time. And that's exactly what this feels like. This separation has become one of the greatest lessons of their life. Being without you has shown them what truly matters. With every passing day, they understand more clearly how valuable this connection really is. It feels as though they're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to a lifetime of regret. The other requires them to gather every ounce of courage and reach out to you. And for the first time in a long time, they're willing to take that chance. The third card is Page of Pentacles. This is a card of growth, learning, and taking the first genuine step forward. It tells me this person is no longer the same version of themselves. During the time you were apart, they've been through countless lessons. There have been disappointments. There have been losses. There have been moments that force them to take an honest look at who they really are. Spirit gives me the feeling that they've been attending what I like to call the school of the universe. Life has been teaching them, pushing them to grow, asking them to let go of old habits, forcing them to face the parts of themselves they once tried so hard to avoid. They've come to understand that love cannot survive on emotions alone. It also requires maturity, commitment, responsibility, and the willingness to keep growing. The Page of Pentacles can also represent a message, a conversation, or an invitation. That makes me believe this person no longer wants to keep everything locked inside. They want to speak their truth. They want to explain. They want to apologize. Most importantly, they want to show you that they've truly changed. Not through empty promises, but through the person they've become. When I look at these three cards together, they tell one very clear story. The Fool is awakening. Wheel of Fortune is transformation. Page of Pentacles is action. This person has moved from regret to awareness, and now they're preparing to take the first step back toward you. The part that touches me the most about today's reading is this. They're no longer blaming circumstances. They're no longer blaming fate. And they're certainly not blaming you. They understand that it was their own choices that created the distance between the two of you, because they finally recognize that truth. They also know that they're the one who must make things right. Spirit keeps showing me that this won't be a superficial apology. This is the kind of apology that is born from months of reflection, heartbreak, personal growth, and genuine transformation. This person doesn't simply want you back. They want to become someone who deserves your love. They're hoping that when your paths cross again, you'll be able to see that change, not just through their words, but through every action they choose to take. Perhaps that's why the Wheel of Fortune has appeared today. Because when someone truly changes from within, destiny begins to move with them. An old chapter is slowly coming to an end. The chapter of silence, the chapter of distance, The chapter filled with misunderstandings and regret, so that a brand new chapter can finally begin. One where the two of you have the opportunity to write a completely different story than the one you left behind. And the next message Spirit wants to reveal comes through the Eight of Pentacles. I have to say, I absolutely love seeing this card appear, because this is now the second card in a row that speaks about learning, personal growth, and becoming a better version of oneself. When Spirit repeats the same theme more than once, it's rarely a coincidence. It's confirmation. This person is genuinely changing. Not through empty promises they make to themselves, but through a transformation that is happening deep within them. It feels as though life has placed them on a journey they can no longer avoid, a journey that has forced them to look honestly at every decision they've made, to confront the parts of themselves they've ignored for far too long, to become the person they simply weren't mature enough to be before. They've come to understand something very important. If they truly want to become the partner you deserve, they have to change themselves first. The time apart wasn't simply a separation. It became a period of profound awakening. For the first time, they truly experienced a difference between having you in their life and trying to live without you. That emptiness became their greatest teacher. That's how people grow. That's how souls evolve. And the Eight of Pentacles also speaks of a love deep enough to inspire someone to become a better person, not because they're forced to, but because they genuinely want to. As I turned over the next card, Knight of Pentacles appeared. Immediately, the energy became calmer, steadier, and much more grounded. This is no longer someone who acts on impulse. No longer someone who walks away when things become difficult. No longer someone who makes careless decisions. Spirit gives me the feeling that this person has spent a great deal of time thinking about the future, and in every version of that future, you are there. You aren't simply a memory they're trying to hold on to. You're the future they're still hoping to build. Day after day, memories of the two of you continue to return. The conversations you shared, the laughter, the ordinary moments that once seemed so small have now become the moments they treasure the most. Those memories have only made them more certain about what they truly want. Spirit wants to emphasize something very important here. This person isn't coming back simply to reconnect. They're not returning for a brief conversation. They're not coming back because they're lonely, and they're certainly not returning to repeat the past. They're coming back because they want to build a future with you. The Knight of Pentacles represents someone who has finally learned the value of patience, responsibility, consistency, dependability. When they stand before you again, they want you to see someone you can truly trust. Someone who keeps their promises. Someone who protects the relationship. Someone who stays. But then, just as this hopeful energy begins to unfold, Spirit brings us to the Three of Swords. This is where their heart completely opens. Because underneath all of this growth, there is still an incredible amount of pain. Pain they've carried throughout your time apart. They're living with regret, heartbreak, loss, deep disappointment, and the realization that happiness was once within their reach. Yet they were the one who let it slip away. Now they understand something they couldn't see before. If they truly want happiness, if they truly want love, if they truly want you, silence is no longer an option. They have to take the first step. They have to reach out. They have to tell you everything they've been holding inside. The Three of Swords often speaks of tears that follow a life-changing lesson. There are nights when they lie awake for hours, thinking about you, staring at the ceiling, watching memory after memory replay in their mind. Sometimes the tears come quietly, not because they're weak, but because they finally understood the pain they caused. What hurts them the most is realizing you never deserved any of it. And that brings us back to the deeper meaning of the Fool. Not foolishness, but awakening, the kind of awakening that only comes after painful mistakes. Then suddenly, everything becomes crystal clear as the Ten of Pentacles appears. Honestly, this is one of the most beautiful cards in the entire reading, because it isn't speaking about a temporary relationship. It's speaking about a lifetime, a home, a family, a love that is built to last. Spirit gives me the feeling that this person is saying to you, this time I won't just make promises. I'll prove it. I know it will take time for you to trust me again, and I'm willing to wait. I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild the trust I once broke. They no longer want to simply exist in your life. They want to become part of your future. They imagine building a home together, sharing everyday moments, waking up beside you, growing older together. This is no longer just a dream. It's the future they're actively working toward. The energy continues to deepen through the Queen of Pentacles. This card reveals something incredibly touching. What they miss most isn't simply your love. It's the peace they felt whenever they were with you. You made them feel safe, understood, accepted, free to be themselves. You always seem to know exactly when to encourage them, when to simply listen, and when your quiet presence alone was enough to make everything feel okay. You brought balance into their life. And only after losing that did they truly understand how precious it was. They love you, but even more than that, they long to build a stable, lasting life with you. A relationship where both of you feel safe enough to love openly, safe enough to grow together. And Spirit closes this chapter with the Seven of Wands. This is the card of courage, perseverance, and someone who has made the decision never to give up again. It's as though they're saying, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for this love. I'm going to fight for another chance to be by your side. They understand that this time, words alone won't be enough. You need to see the change through the way they treat you, through the choices they make, through the responsibility they accept, through their consistent presence in your life. Spirit keeps showing me that this is no longer the person who ran away from their emotions. This is someone who is finally willing to stand their ground, to protect the love they once lost. And perhaps that is the greatest transformation of all. And then one of the brightest, most beautiful energies of this entire reading finally reveals itself. The Sunday. It's almost impossible not to smile when this card appears, because in tarot, the sun has always been a symbol of joy, healing, and lasting happiness. But today, Spirit is revealing something even deeper. This person doesn't simply miss you. They long to return to the place where their heart has always belonged. To them, you are the light that brightens their life, the one who made everything feel more vibrant, more meaningful, more alive. Whenever they were with you, life felt full of purpose. Every day carried hope. Even the hardest moments seemed easier to face. You gave them a sense of peace they had never found anywhere else. It's as though simply being by your side made them believe they could overcome anything, start over, become the very best version of themselves. That is the beautiful energy radiating from the sun today. What I love most about this card is that it isn't only about one person healing. It's about two souls healing each other, growing together, walking toward the future together. This time apart has helped them realize something beautifully simple. You have always been the light that guided them. Your love showed them what genuine happiness truly feels like. And it wasn't until they lost that light that they understood just how precious it had always been. Now, they no longer want to wander without direction. They simply want to find their way back to you. The sun also speaks of a profound transformation. They've realized that love cannot be built on promises alone. It has to be built on consistency, responsibility, trust, and the small actions that are repeated day after day. No more disappearing without explanation. No more impulsive decisions. No more breaking your heart. The months they spent without you became some of the hardest days of their life. There were nights when they simply lay awake, staring at the ceiling, allowing every memory of you to return, until eventually they realized there was only one path that could bring peace back to their heart. The path that leads back to you, back to the light, back to love. The sun also paints a beautiful picture of the future. A future filled with laughter. A peaceful home. A life built together. A love mature enough to walk hand in hand through every season of life. Spirit also wants to emphasize something important. This person has done a tremendous amount of healing. They've faced their mistakes honestly. They've stopped making excuses. They've stopped blaming anyone else. All that's left is a sincere desire to do things the right way if they're given another chance. And perhaps that's why they'll be the one to take the first step toward you. When they return, you'll meet a different person, calmer, stronger, more emotionally mature. Because now they understand something they couldn't see before. Some connections are never truly lost. They simply wait for the right moment to find each other again. And just as that beautiful energy settles, Spirit introduces a completely different vibration. Knight of Wands. If everything has been unfolding slowly until now, things are about to move much faster. This is the energy of action, of courage, of someone who has finally decided to stop watching from a distance. They're going to take the first step. They're going to reach out. They're going to be the one who finally breaks the silence that has lasted for far too long. What feels different this time is that they're no longer carrying the energy of their past self. This time, they show up with confidence, passion, excitement, and an overwhelming desire to fully experience life with you. They aren't just dreaming about love anymore. They're imagining everything the two of you still haven't had the chance to experience together. New adventures, road trips, quiet afternoons, shared laughter, and countless beautiful memories waiting to be created. The Knight of Wands is also one of the strongest signs that the silence between you is coming to an end. Then Spirit adds another powerful piece to the story. The Magician. This is the card of manifestation, personal power, confidence, and turning what once seemed impossible into reality. It's almost as if this person is saying, we were always meant to find our way back to each other. I love you with my heart, with my mind, with my soul, with every part of who I am. This is no longer uncertain love. It's a love that has been tested by time, by distance, by loss, and because of everything they've been through, they no longer want to hide their feelings. The Magician is also connected to Mercury, the planet of communication, which is why Spirit keeps emphasizing the same message. There will be communication, a message, a phone call, or a long-awaited conversation that changes everything. And then the story finally arrives at one of its most beautiful moments. Two of Cups. This is one of the most meaningful love cards in the entire tarot. Not simply because it speaks of reunion, but because it represents two hearts finally choosing one another again. This person no longer wants to lose you. They no longer want to run from their feelings. They no longer want fear to make their decisions. They simply want to love you honestly, openly, completely, and build a relationship that can last a lifetime. Spirit gently brings us back to the very beginning of this reading. Page of Pentacles, Eight of Pentacles. Both of these cards speak about learning, but these weren't lessons found in books. These were lessons written in tears, in loneliness, in sleepless nights, and in the heartbreak that changed them forever. It was the hardest classroom life could ever offer. Yet, it became the place where they experienced the greatest growth. Perhaps that's why the Wheel of Fortune appeared so early in this reading, because your story together isn't finished yet. If this reading has found you today, perhaps somewhere deep within your own heart, you felt that truth for a long time. This isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a brand new chapter. A chapter written with maturity, forgiveness, trust, new adventures, shared laughter, a peaceful home, and a love strong enough to overcome everything you've been through together. Right now, this person isn't simply hoping for your forgiveness. What they truly want is the opportunity to spend the rest of their life writing the next chapters of your story together. And with that, Spirit brings today's reading to a gentle close. If this message found you at exactly the moment you needed to hear it, trust that perhaps it wasn't a coincidence. Take only what truly resonates with your heart, and gently release anything that doesn't. Thank you for spending this time with me and for sharing this journey from beginning to end. Your presence here means more than you know, and I'm truly grateful that our paths crossed in this moment. If today's reading brought you comfort, clarity, or even a small spark of hope, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment to share what resonated with you, and subscribe so you won't miss future readings. Every comment and every subscription helps these messages reach someone else who may be waiting to hear them at exactly the right time. I hope your path ahead is filled with love, peace, healing, and the gentle guidance of the universe. Keep trusting in divine timing. What is truly meant for you will always find its way back to you. Thank you for being here. Until next time, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next reading.